self. And I know that, running a business, particularly if you have a small business, or if you, in my case, for example, if you have a solo business, can be hard. First of all, building, growing, running a business is hard. And then also ensuring that, all the other bits, which is your personal branding, your marketing, everything also gets put into place is also hard. Particularly sometimes because we don't have the skills for it, right? And we have to grow those skills. So you may be very good at your business. What is it that you do? But sometimes you may not have the skills for, let's say, marketing or the admin bits or the ops bit or hiring. I really, I struggle with hiring the right people. I've been looking for one person for so long and I still haven't found that magical person. So, which is why EntrepreNaari, to be able to form a community where we can all talk about our challenges as business owners, help each other, and also learn from each other. That's the whole idea. I'm here today to talk about personal branding. For those of you who don't know, I have a brand called She Means Business. I am basically a learning facilitator, but I'm also a content creator. I have a YouTube channel. I do several pieces of content. The idea being to promote my business. I'm a learning facilitator. So I do corporate sessions on, presence, on communication skills, on presentation skills, everything that can help a person create impactful presence, including branding, because all of us need to market ourselves. Whether it's a business owner or someone in a corporate structure, we all need to market ourselves. So that's also a subject that I teach, which is what I'm going to do today, talk about personal branding. Very excited to be here. So if you do want to follow me, I have a YouTube channel called She Means Business. I have an Instagram account called She Means Business _ Dipika Singh. Before I start, I want to ask you, the very few of us, in case you want to unmute yourself, you can. I want to ask you what you understand by personal branding. That's very important for, just to understand what is it that you understand by personal branding? Why is this important to you? So that when we start, I know what are the areas that we need to touch upon and what are the challenges that we face. So as a business owner, what do you understand by personal branding? If anyone wants to tell me, you can also put it in the chat box. I'm going to open the chat box. What is personal? What do you understand by personal branding? Anyone wants to just unmute and tell me?
Personal branding.
I've lost you. Put it in the chat box. I can't hear you. Being able to express yourself well to an audience. Yes, 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 yes. Partly. It's a good description, but partly. Having a digital footprint. Girija, I think that's a great answer, because today a lot of what we do is digital. I would, however, say not just digital. Offline is also important. We still meet people and we still create a brand when we meet people. So it's both digital and offline, but I like the way you put it, saying to establish or having a footprint. That's a great answer, actually. Anyone else who wants to tell me?
Yes, I want to. Ma'am, I think personal branding means when we build a business by ourselves without taking help from others. And means the main idea would be ours, not others. I think.
Okay, sort of. Sort of. Sort of. So let me just answer this for you. A personal brand is a conscious and intentional effort to create a public perception. Can you all see my screen? Rika, can you see my screen?
Yeah.
So it's a conscious and intentional effort to create a public perception and influence by positioning yourself as an authority in a field, communicating your skills, your personality, and values. Basically, people should know who you are, right? And a lot of times people say that, a personal brand is basically, I'm going to keep stopping sharing and then starting again, because I like to see people when I'm, doing a workshop. So basically, a personal brand, in very simple words, is how people perceive you or how people know you. And that obviously rubs off on your business. But a personal brand basically is the visibility that you create for yourself, right? Now, a lot of people tell me that, it's how people perceive me. But a true personal brand is built intentionally. You build it. You don't wait for other people to decide what they're going to think about you or your business. You build your own personal brand, right? So it's not about, how people think of you. It's about how intentionally you guide them. It's a very intentional process. Personal branding is a very intentional process where you decide what people are going to think about you. I decide that people think of saris when, they think of me, because that has become my personal brand. When I started out, it wasn't like that. It wasn't like, I was focusing on saris. I just wear a lot of saris. It's very authentic to me. It's very intrinsic to me. But now I've also made it intentional, in the sense that all my promotions for workshops or digital footprint or most of my YouTube videos, you will see me wearing a sari. I'm not wearing one today because it's a long weekend. I can't. But it is something that I've now intentionally done, right? Because it's very authentic to me in any case. So personal brand is something that you build, right? And a lot of people ask me that, is it about a business or is it about me? So it's a mix of both, but mostly it's about you, right? As we go along, I'm going to give you a lot of case studies and a lot of examples from people who have built some amazing personal brands. And you will see that it's not just about the skill or their business or what the business is about. Just that. For example, if you're an author, I have a friend called Kanchana. She wanted to attend this workshop. She's an author. She writes, thriller books, mystery books. And she always asks me, but Dipika, do I have to constantly talk about writing? Do I have to talk about mystery books? Do I have to talk about the fact that I'm an author? Should I share tips on, writing books? And I always tell her, but no, you are more than that. A personal brand is about you, what people think about you. I'll give you an example. And this is an example that will keep coming up because I think she's built a really great personal brand. I'm talking about, have you heard of Vanita Singh? Raise your hands or put a yes in your chat box. Okay, let's do this little exercise. Have you heard of Vanita Singh? Oh, somebody, yes. Somebody had written, becoming a face for your brand. People identify your product with your name. Very, very good. Very good answer. Not just a face for your brand, a face. You become a face and automatically then you become a face for your brand because you build that connection. But just becoming a face is far more important. The brand and your business is by extension. But a personal brand, I think the face first and foremost is very, very important. So building a personal brand about who you are. Who is Dipika Singh? Learning facilitation and behavioral skills and communication skills is later. But who is Dipika Singh? For example, most people say, I'm very positive. That has nothing to do with communication skills or presentation skills. It's just a word that people associate with me because that's what I've put out about myself, right? So you heard of Vanita Singh. What do you think of when you think of Vanita Singh? She's the CEO of Sugar Cosmetics. We all know that. What is the one thing or two things that you think of when you think of Vanita Singh? Does anyone want to tell me? Shark Tank. Yes, yes, yes. That was a brilliant strategy. Shark Tank. What else? My chat box has disappeared. So most people, when they hear of Vanita Singh, they talk about the fact that she quit a 1 crore ka naukri to become an entrepreneur. right? That's what most people know about her. She quit a 1 crore. She did not take up a 1 crore job because she wanted to become an entrepreneur. What a great story and what a great brand. And the other thing that most people think about her is her fitness. She runs a lot and she puts it out on Instagram about her fitness, about her triathlon that she just did. So that's again a part of a brand. Nothing to do with cosmetics, nothing to do with sugar cosmetics, nothing to do about her business, but who she is, right? On Shark Tank also, she comes as an entrepreneur, but if you see her, you will remember her for her, her quirks and the fact that she will wear shoes with her because she's a fitness person. So she always wears those, sneakers with whatever she's wearing, So that's her personal brand. She's not very, she's not a high heel person, So these are things she's intentionally building now because it builds her personal brand. And what a great way to do it. So personal brand will always be a mix of your personal and professional attributes. A lot of people think personal brand starts by creating content. So you go to LinkedIn and you write Hajar post, or you go to Instagram and you start posting on Instagram. I think it requires a little bit more strategy than that. So if you have a business and you want to start building a personal brand because you want obviously to use it like some form of marketing for yourself and your business, I think it actually begins by first identifying who you are, right? And that is where the personal brand will begin. It will not start by just creating content, right? So I'm going to lead you through 2 or 3 things that you should do if you want to start creating a personal brand for yourself. So for example, I know Sukanya here. She's in the room. Sukanya runs a brand called Pratha. I remember buying a Pratha, right? That's how you pronounce it. Buying a Pratha dress long back. It was a beautiful dress. It was sustainable cotton. And I remember buying. And Sukanya wants to now build a personal brand. And I think in clothing line, if somebody I would think of who's created a great personal brand are the Suta sisters. Has anybody heard of Suta saris? Again, what a beautiful, beautiful brand they have built. I met Suta many, many years ago when they had just started out. They had I think 15,000 followers on Instagram, and I ran into them at a flea market. I bought some stuff from them because saris. And after that, I interviewed them for my YouTube channel. And I still remember Suta did so many things right. One, they literally became the face of their brand. So they were the ones modeling the saris, and they were the ones whose faces were up on, on Instagram, everywhere. But the other thing they did was they did fabulous things like the first thing that I want to tell you, they had an origin story. A story is why you started, right? Or what is your product? Why did you start this particular product? Or it could be something to do with a failure, or it could be a why, why are you doing what you're doing? A story, if you're an entrepreneur, a story travels a very, very long way. Lots of examples, lots of examples. I'm going to bring back Vanita Singh. I am an entrepreneur today because I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. And I kicked a 1 crore job because I wanted to explore entrepreneurship. What a great story. And, she has repeated this story multiple times. And that's what a story should be. So I want you to go back and look into your journey as an entrepreneur and as you as a person. What is your journey? What is the story that you see over there? And find that story and tell that story to people. First, hone that story and then tell it to people. And if it's a good story, people will start telling people that story, right? Which is fantastic because ultimately you want people to be talking about it. You and I are today talking about Vanita Singh and the story of how, she started as an entrepreneur, right? I have heard her say this on multiple podcasts, why she became an entrepreneur. Because she wanted to be very big. She wanted to make a lot of money, so she's gone deeper into that story, but she repeats it every time. And now people talk about that story. It's a very, very popular, famous story on why Vanita Singh, is an entrepreneur. So find a story in what you do. I'll tell you my story. It's an example, but not a promotion. But I'll just tell you, every time I start a workshop, if it's a physical workshop, I walk into the room and I have to obviously introduce myself. Now, one way of doing this would be to say, I'm a corporate trainer. I train on behavioral skills. I help people create a lot of impact through their body language, communication skills, through their presence, etc. Right? That's a normal way to introduce yourself. The other way to introduce myself, which is what I do, is I am Dipika Singh. I have about 15 years of experience in marketing. And I was working with Kingfisher Airlines in 2012. And when that folded up, I really didn't want to go look for another job. I wanted to try something of my own, but I didn't know what that my own was. So for 2 years, I tried my hand at different things. I have been in marketing, so I tried events because I've done a lot of events in my work life. I tried doing internal events for corporates, which means team building and fun Fridays, etc. And during those events, we would hire an MC and I would land up taking the mic from the MC and becoming the host myself. I love speaking. So then I decided that I really wanted to do something about this. So I made a couple of workshops and I put together a couple of speaker sessions, and I went back to my clients and said, hire me as a speaker and as a learning facilitator. Some of them did. They placed their trust in me. And today I am what I am, which is a learning facilitator. It's a story, right? Chances of people remembering me and listening to me go up if I tell them this story rather than just giving that dry introduction of, I'm a learning facilitator, right? So each of us has a story, and you should use that story whenever you come in contact with anybody, right? So it could be stakeholders, your vendors, your customers, your audience, or it could be social media. It could be a networking event. Right. We make the mistake of thinking that a personal brand is only built on social media. It is also built offline. It is built at networking events. It is built when you're talking to a stakeholder, like a vendor, because people, if they like that story, they will repeat that story. And that is the power of the story, right? So go back and look at a story. And like I said, the story could come from anywhere. It doesn't necessarily have to come from why you started this brand. It could come from places like your first client. There could be a story there. Or the first failure that you had, there could be a story there. Remember, a story is something that tugs at emotional heartstrings, right? So how much emotion is there? How likely are people to feel really touched by your story? How likely are people to repeat your story, right? So I think that's very, very important. So each of you go back, look at yourself, and the story need not also, because we're building a personal brand, the story need not just come from your business. It could also be about who you are. Another story I often tell people is about how I, as a 13-year-old, I started my speaking journey. My first debate, Mrs. Goswami, in fact, there's a video I very recently put up on my YouTube channel. She had selected me for a debate, and that actually started my speaking journey. How she trained me, what were the mistakes I made, what I learned from Mrs. Goswami and that first debate. That is also a story about why I speak the way I do and why I believe in presence, because she taught me what the stage really is and how to use a stage, right? Where you stand, how you use your voice, how you do all of this. She taught me. So there's a story there as well. So why I have a speaking career? Because I fell in love with speaking at the age of 13, because Mrs. Goswami taught me so much about, the stage and how I love being on stage, right? So go back, look at your stories, and, find a story that is authentic, find a story that is emotional, and then find a story that the same story should also be repeatable. People should tell each other, your vendors, your clients, your audience, they should remember it, it should stick, and they should tell each other, right? So that really is one element of your personal brand. Your story becomes an element of your personal brand. So I want to break this myth that personal brand is only about creating content and, putting your face out there. It's not. A personal brand is built in many, many, many ways. Like Vanita Singh doesn't model her cosmetics at all. So I've often been asked this question. A friend of mine started a sari brand, and she asked me this question: should I wear the saris and should I post them on Instagram, because that's what everybody seems to be doing? And I told her, no, you have to find other ways of building your own personal brand. You don't do what you're not comfortable with and what doesn't come authentically to you just because you have to sell your business or sell your product. So you have to figure out what works for you. So it is not just, so for even someone like you, Sukanya, it is not just about putting yourself as a face of the product. Your branding can come from so many places. And your story is one such place where the branding can come from. And how smartly you use your story and how smartly you tell your story to many, many people will actually decide that. The second place where your personal brand can come from, and this is where when I spoke about mix of personal and professional, where it can come from is these four pillars, which is your skills, values, passion, and purpose. There is an excellent PwC exercise. It's a full workshop. It is available online. I have taken some bits of it and modified it, which I will take you through. But after the workshop, I will find the link and I will drop it in. Do that exercise. It will really help you to distill your personal brand down. Exactly what your personal brand is. It will really help you with that. But basically what it means is that you should know
what is PwC?
PricewaterhouseCoopers.
Oh, okay. Pricewaterhouse. Yeah, okay.
A consulting firm. If you do PwC personal branding, you will get that little exercise. It's a PDF, great exercise. So yeah, personal brand comes from these four: your skills, your values, your passion, your purpose. Most people think it's only skills. Most people think I just need to talk about what I'm good at, right? Or share my expertise. But that's not it. It can come from anywhere. For example, Vinita Singh's passion is running and fitness. A lot of a personal brand is that, right? So it can actually come from anywhere. It can come from your values. What is it that you believe in? I believe in, one of my strongest values is lifelong learning, constant learning. To me, that is, the day I stop learning, I feel, my brain is now going to die. I feel that there is so much more to be curious about, to constantly learn. And that is a value that I believe in. It's not a skill, it's a value. And that is something then that comes across in all the content I put out and all the workshops that I do. I constantly urge people to learn, keep learning throughout your life, because it just keeps you young, your brain young, and you just learn so many new things. So that's a value. So it can actually come from your value, right? It can come from a passion. Your personal brand doesn't have to be about your business. Sometimes your business is also not your passion. This is a very good, a lot of people say, I want to run a business around my passion. That doesn't happen. Sometimes you just spot a market gap and you get in, right? So you have a business in, let's say, home delivery. Like, I really honestly don't know if the Swiggy guys or the Zepto guys really had a passion to ensure things reach people's places in 10 minutes. I doubt if those 20-year-olds really had that passion to see, delivery happen in 10 minutes. I just think they saw a market opportunity, a business opportunity, and they built a business around it, right? So your business may not be your passion. It could be just something you do because you really like doing it. And also because there's a market gap. There's an opportunity there for you to make money. And you see a gap there and you want to build a business there. So it may not necessarily be a passion, but it's something that you work really hard and you're doing a good job with. So your passion could be totally different, right? So, but your personal brand can come out of your passion. And finally, it can come out of your purpose. Purpose means, what is this big high thing that you want to do? For example, in Rika's case or in my case, I think we really want to work with women. Rika wants to see more women do well in the sports scene, right, Rika, if I'm not mistaken. So that becomes her purpose. And that is what Rika, as she goes along, it should come across in the content that she makes or the brand that she builds. Her purpose is to see more women in sports. Her purpose is to see younger girls getting more into sports and sports anchoring, because that's what she has been. So very few women in sports anchoring. She wants to see more women. She wants to see more women. It should be the norm. Women in anchoring on TV sports, right? Why does it have to be not the norm, right? So it should be the norm. As many women in anchoring as men in anchoring in sports. So that becomes her purpose. And from there, so she doesn't only have to talk about how you can become a good anchor or do, workshops on how she can become a good anchor, become the face. She's already a big face. We all see her on any TV. But her purpose, which is what she's doing now, she's working with Aspire for Her. She's doing so much around women and, helping them grow. That purpose becomes a form of building a personal brand. So ask yourself, what is this purpose? And your personal brand statement plus the action that you take to build that personal brand will actually come from these. And I'll show you what PwC had done. It's a great exercise. I'm going to keep it on the screen for about a minute each slide. How you authentically find your skill, your value, your passion, and your purpose. And from there, how you find your personal brand. So the strengths and skills, what PwC says is there are these set of questions which they want you to answer. You can take a screenshot of this and answer these questions later, or take a photo or whatever. So these questions are designed so smartly that you'll come up with one or two skills which you'll start seeing as the skills that are your skills, the skills that count, right? And that will lead you right at the bottom. If you see, it will lead you to what is my super skill. Now, each of these slides, you should have one answer. Why? Because when you build a brand, you can't have too many elements to your brand. You just confuse people then. Right. So your brand, you could be many things. I have so many facets to myself. Each of us are good at so many things. Each of us are good at so many facets. We do multiple things, but you choose, you decide that my personal brand is going to be built on 3 or 4 pillars. That's it. Because beyond that, your audience is confused. Who really is Dipika? What does she stand for? So you choose authentically, and sometimes choosing is tough, which is why this exercise PwC has given us. The second one is values. This one's a really, really tough one. This whole sheet you should look at, and you will never be able to come to one. Immediately, you will never be able to come to one. So you look at this whole sheet, and then you bring it down to 3 values that are most important to you. And be very honest with yourself. You know, I looked for a very, very long time at fame, very long time. And I asked myself that I have a YouTube channel. I want that YouTube channel to grow. I really, put out a lot of content. Is fame one of my values? So, and then I, of course, came to the conclusion it's not. I do it because I want to, I want to have a voice. I want something to say. So I don't care about the numbers because I want to be an influencer. I care about the numbers because I feel I have something to add to people's lives, which is why, I have a YouTube channel. But this is going to be a tough one. 3 values that are most important to you, and then rank them and come to value number 1, right? Again, important. You may, as you develop, you obviously want to have more values. Personal development and personal branding are 2 very different things. Personal branding is when, you only want to talk about one thing. Personal development is you should keep improving. You should have more than one value. So today, if you feel compassion and you want to grow the fact that you're a very compassionate person, you also want to be a kind person. You also want to be a person who values knowledge. So that will keep increasing. But what is the one value that is most important to you? Very tough. The next one is your passion, right? What are the things that really interest you? I'll go back to my, my friend, Kanchana, who's an author. And she told me, Dipika, I'm interested in writing, in mentoring, in saris, and writing and teaching. Something to do with books, she said. I said, but why are you only looking again at books and etc.? I have seen your page and I know that you love traveling. So traveling is a passion. So if you build content around traveling or you talk about traveling, why not? Because it is a passion for you. I can make that out. So you should know that. So if you answer these questions, you will come to what is your passion. And the next one, the last one is your purpose. Very, very good to know what is your purpose. Where are you headed with this business? Why are you doing this business? What after 10 years do you want to do? Do you want to be? So for example, in my case, I definitely want to be a learning facilitator and a creator who impacts a lot of lives, who teaches people how they can carry themselves with a lot of presence. And I'm very clear that 60% of the people whose lives I'm impacting have to be women. That's my purpose in life, right? So you should know what your purpose in life is. It could be money, but I leave it up to you. But why not? Again, be very authentic with yourself. Just be very, very authentic with yourself. Right? I'm going to stop sharing for a bit. Right? Okay, let me just finish and then we'll come back to discussions. Now, if you've got your skill, so if you got your story, if you figured out your story, right? What is that one story that you need to really tell people about you? Why are you you? What do you do? Why do you do what you do? What makes you you? So figure out one interesting story that you will tell people. And then figure out your one skill or expertise that people should know about, which is a cornerstone of your brand. Then you figure out one value that makes you you. In my case, it is constant learning or imparting knowledge. And then one passion, like fitness for somebody. And then finally, your purpose, right? If you're very clear on all five of these, building a personal brand, that becomes your building block for your personal brand, right? So when you have to create content, for example, you know what to dip into. You get what I'm saying? Now there is no confusion about what content should I create or what should I do. You're very clear now on what is it that you're going to, what are the building blocks of your personal brand, because you've done this little exercise. Your story, your skill, your value, your passion, your purpose are what I call the pillars, or what Gary Vee, if you follow Gary Vee, he says that we all have these content pillars around which we build our brand and our content. So in your case, these five will be your content pillars, and you can keep dipping back into them to create a personal brand and then consistently tell people who you are, right? So I will talk about saris. I will talk about curiosity and constant learning. I will talk about everything else that is, important to me. I will talk about my origin as a speaker and why I speak the way why I speak so much, why I love speaking, why I love being on stage. Right? So once you've identified very authentically your five pillars, on that will rest your personal brand. So don't go out and start creating content and don't ask yourself, should I become the face of the brand? First, do this exercise. The rest of the stuff we will talk about later, but first do this exercise of figuring out who you are and figuring out your pillars. After that, of course, you now have to ask yourself, I have a personal brand. I figured out who I am. And now I want the world to know me and by extension, my business. How do I do it? Right? How do I amplify this to the people so that they come to know me and they come to know about my business? So if you see, for example, if you see many people, I want to think of, I'll give an example. You've heard of barber shop. There is a brand, they started out with men's grooming products, barbershop. And now, of course, they have women's grooming products as well. They're the challenger to brands like Gillette. They're very tiny. It's a small D2C startup, but they're doing well. Now, the founder is a guy called Shantanu Deshpande. He speaks really well. He's very, he writes a lot on LinkedIn, has a lot of controversy on LinkedIn also. But now, if you look at Shantanu Deshpande, he sells men's grooming products. His startup sells men's grooming products, right? Great example, this. He should talk about men's grooming because if you were to think very narrowly of personal brands, this is what we think, right? So if I'm making clothes, I have to talk only about clothes, or I have to only model my clothes or whatever. So he should just be talking about men's grooming products and, why you should use this, et cetera, et cetera. But Shantanu Deshpande went out and started a podcast, right? He started a podcast and he interviews people, leaders, basically, some entrepreneurs, some people who are from 9 to 5. I'll come to you, Rika. I've seen that you raised your hand. I'll just finish this bit. He started a podcast, where he talks about running businesses, running B2C businesses, running, a leadership, talking about entrepreneurship. And it's a very intelligent, very interesting podcast. I will give this example because I generally, if I'm flying somewhere, this is one of the few podcasts I will download and I will listen to. In fact, I would recommend, there is this one episode with Dipika Singh of Sugar. It's a fabulous episode. If you listen to it, she talks about women at work and there's so much to learn from that episode. I quite enjoyed. I listened to it on a flight and I really enjoyed it. Little nuggets of entertainment and little nuggets of, learning. So he started a podcast. The podcast, because he's a good conversationalist. I think the one skill that Shantanu has, that he's very good with words. If you read him on LinkedIn also, he's very, very good with words. He writes well. He's very free flowing in his thought process, doesn't overthink anything, So he started this podcast. The podcast did beautifully well, right? It's on YouTube. It's also on the audio platform, Spotify, etc. Now he's not talking about grooming products at all over there. But because the podcast did so well, his business became more well known, and by extension, his business became much better known, right? So he's not talking about grooming products at all. He's just taken one skill, which is his skill of understanding, wanting to learn more about entrepreneurship and interviewing people to learn more from them, about business and how they are running the businesses, and bringing all this knowledge to people who obviously are his target audience. See, a lot of people between the ages of 20 to 26, especially young men, are listening to such podcasts. Look at how popular Ranveer Alabadia is and, Raj Shamani is. So he used his skill to create a podcast which is reaching out to that audience who's going to buy his products. But he's not talking about his products. In the process, he's built a personal brand. Shantanu Deshpande and his podcast has become very, very big, right? So your personal brand also has to come from your 4 pillars, and it need not necessarily only be about your product. Yarika, you were saying something.
Yeah, I just wanted to know, Shantanu Deshpande is that same person who kicked up a storm by saying that
24
millennials...
hours, 23 hours, 16 hours, 18 hours of working.
Yeah. He's that guy. What's
He's
the
that
name
guy.
of his podcast?
It's called The Barber Shop.
It's called The Barber Shop. Okay.
Yeah. Can you give me a second? 1 second, guys. The bell has 1 second out. I'm back. It's a bit of a chaotic day today. Right. So, yeah, he's the guy. He kicked up a ruckus with his, you should work for X amount of hours when you're young, etc., etc. But he used one of his skills and he created this podcast, and the podcast did beautifully well. And that is why today he has a brand, right? So I want you to dip into what we discussed earlier, your 4 pillars, and you will find ways of creating a personal brand there. At least you'll find the pillars there, right? But the next question is, now you need to take that out, which is very tough, because now you need to decide how am I going to what I call amplifying your personal brand. Knowing yourself and knowing what your personal brand is going to be based on is one thing. The other thing is, now obviously you need to take it out, right? How do you start creating and building a personal brand, right? As in, what are the platforms that you will create all of this on? I think there are lots of options. Again, we narrow it down to LinkedIn and Instagram. But really, there are so many opportunities for you to create personal brands. One, of course, the biggest, of course, today is creating content, right? Now, content doesn't necessarily have to be only on your platform. So you don't have to go out and create an Instagram account or be the face of your own business on your or business Instagram account. It could be, somebody has a podcast. There's so many people who have podcasts, right? Reach out to them and get yourself invited to speak on those podcasts. So get yourself invited as a guest on those podcasts, right? You are not creating content on your own channels now, but there are several other channels. So there could be Instagram lives that you get yourself invited to, podcasts that you get yourself invited to, YouTube interviews, LinkedIn lives. So your job is not to create all of that on your platform, because that also requires a lot of hard work and a lot of consistency. Just go out and use other people's platforms. Consistently, persistently write to people saying, use the story. If your story, those pillars that we spoke about, use your story. If your story is interesting, people will say, yes, would love to invite you. Attach your Instagram, work Instagram, etc. Now, what happens is, when you start appearing, even if you do, let's say, 6 interviews, you are invited for 6 interviews, lives, etc., they will market it. Right? They will market it and they will push it out, and they will tell firstly, you're creating a new audience for yourself, right? Secondly, now you are all over. So people will get to hear you. It will become a part of SEO. When people Google, you have not done anything on your own platforms, but you are now a part of digital footprint, right? Because other people, you're now permanently in some podcast lists, permanently in some LinkedIn lives, Instagram lives on somebody else's Instagram account. I think that's a great way. So for those of us who don't want to create content on our own channels, please go out and get yourself invited persistently on other people's channels. You use others, right? So I think that's a brilliant way of building a personal brand. Before you do that, get your pillars, what you're going to talk about, and be consistent in all. Don't, again, it has to be interesting. You always have to be a very, very interesting guest. Again, if you listen to a lot of these people, who speak, some of these guests on some of these podcasts are so interesting to listen to. So be an interesting guest, be authentic, but remember, you're also building your own brand, right? So there should be consistent stories. What do you stand for? Why you started? All of that. But go out to other people's, platforms and get yourself invited. So that's one way. If you don't want to create your own, content all the time, it's tough to create content, and it's tough to be out there because not all of us have the time, and not all of us have also that that whole thing about creating content. It takes time. The second is networking. These are things that we don't even consider when you're building a personal brand. Networking is for business, it is also for personal brand. How do I give you an example? For example, right, I am a part of a lot of networking groups that are women entrepreneurs, solo women entrepreneurs, or networking groups which are about, let's say, learning. So a lot of learning and learning professionals are in that group, WhatsApp groups, etc. Now, in that, what I do is, whenever there is an opportunity to do a free workshop or something, I will put my hand up and say, I'll do it, because what happens is that more people come to know about me. That group itself is coming to know about me. And when that group of community, like EntrepreNaari, right? So when this group, let's say a client of theirs, if there's someone who's into mental health over there, and a client says, I want to do a communication skills workshop also, because I have been so vocal, so ready to raise my hand and do a workshop, the first name that will pop up is Dipika Singh. Okay, let me recommend Dipika Singh to you. She's good with communication skills. Why don't you reach out to her for a workshop, right? Now, that is also how you build a personal brand. So you go out and make yourself very visible and very vocal on networking groups that matter. And what I love about networking groups is that for a lot of us who are introvert, for example, right, you don't want to go to large networking events. These are closed networking events that you can find out about, and you can be a part of them, and then be active in those, add value to those events. Talk about who you are, talk about, again, a lot of these networking groups, I will, whenever there's workwear discussions, I'm the most, because these are things that matter to me. These are the pillars on which my personal brand is built, right? So I ensure that a discussion around one of my pillars will have a lot of value from me and a lot of things that I will add. Just, again, adds to my personal brand, right? So we do not undermine networking. I think it's a great way. I'll tell you, I just hope we don't overrun. I can add so many stories, but I'll tell you one thing that I do on LinkedIn, which has really, really, really worked for me. Again, not only to build a personal brand and also to build a network, is I have a list of people. I constantly look for people who are either in the industry that I do, that I work in, which is learning and HR, or content, because I create content, but just people I would like to get in touch with. I connect with them, and then I send out a DM saying that, would you like to meet for coffee, virtual coffee, right? And then there's always a common thing that you create content, I create content, or, you're a learning professional, I'm a learning professional. Let's learn from each other. It will be interesting. You'll be surprised at how many people say yes, right? Now, as a rule, I have set aside a number saying that, X number of people I will virtually network with this month, every month. Again, and I tell them my story, and I talk about what I do, why I do it, and what I'm good at. And that, again, is a way I build my personal brand. So these are all examples of, before you go out and start building content, you also evaluate these ways of, looking at your personal brand, right? The third way is to start looking at, panel discussions, speaker opportunities. Every time there's something on your industry, or again, on entrepreneurship, on women entrepreneurship, go out and look at ways of, getting speaker opportunities and getting, being on panel discussions. Again, gives you an opportunity. And again, it's a different platform. It's not your platform. You will get a chance to talk, and you will get a chance to make your story heard, and obviously by extension, your business heard. So for example, somebody's written that they're very good at networking, how to leverage it in collaboration as well. Just reach out to people where you think your collaborators would be. Are they on LinkedIn? Are they on Instagram? Go out, reach out, and ask them for opportunities of collaboration, right? The last thing I want to say is creating an IP. Again, creating content sometimes, can be a very loose thing. Okay, so you go out on LinkedIn also, and then you're on Instagram also, and then you want to do something on Facebook also, and every day to get up and think, oh my God, I have to put out a post today is very tough. But what if I told you just create one IP, like this podcast that Shantanu Deshpande created, but do a really good job of it, right? So one thing you create, we call it IP, intellectual property. One good thing you will create, which will become very big, and then people will know you for that. It could be a podcast, right? But ensure you do it really, really well. It could be a series that you start on LinkedIn. It could be something that you do somewhere, but one IP if you create, and that becomes a part of your personal brand, because you do it, because you are really interested in it, right? So for example, if you do clothes, then do you want to start a series on sustainable clothes and invite people to talk about sustainability, go deep down into sustainability? What is sustainability, right? Make that word your own, right? So IP is when you create one thing and you make it very, very big, and that thing becomes you, right? You're so passionate about it, and you're so good at it that IP becomes a part of your personal brand, right? So I'm going to stop sharing here at this point and just reiterate that, of course, you will create content. Once you start building your personal brand, you will go out and start creating content, and you will decide what platforms you want to be on, because your comfort zone will decide that. And also where your target audience is. My target audience is on LinkedIn. I'm a learning facilitator. All the HR people and business heads are mostly active on LinkedIn. Not to say they're not there on the other channels, because we're all people, right? But LinkedIn is where I see a lot of business coming from, right? So I am most vocal on LinkedIn. I'm very clear about putting up videos on YouTube, because that's where it becomes an anchoring point for all my content, right? But I will tell you the difference. When I first started out as a learning facilitator, I was not creating any of this. I was any other trainer who would go out and fight. I would cold call, go out and fight on price, negotiate hard. But the minute I started creating a personal brand and I started putting myself out there, the tables turned. Now more people reach out to me. More people know what I'm good at. More people know what I stand for. And they reach out to me rather than me having to do the work to reach out to them. And very funnily, when I'm not wearing a sari, people actually ask me, why are you not wearing a sari today? Because it's become a part of my personal brand. I actually walked into a workshop at a bank where women were very disappointed because they thought they would see me in a sari, which is actually a fun thing, because, it reinforces who I am, right? So this is the building block of a personal brand. You will find hajar videos on how to create content and how you should repurpose your content and how you should start your videos and what you should do. All of that you will find, but not too many people tell you the background, which is the building blocks of your personal brand. The building block of your personal brand is authentically who you are. And if you don't want to do this whole exercise that PwC has given, I would ask you to do a very fun exercise. I would say that, think of 5 words, just 5 words that are authentically you. Just 5 words, think hard about 5 words that are you. It could be a skill. It could be a behavior. It could be something that you like doing. It could be something that you like wearing. It could be something that you really believe in. Do you believe in organic food, for example? Your business may not be in organic food, but you really believe in organic product, right? Think of those 5 words. Those 5 words are the building blocks of your personal brand. Now create content around that, or reach out to podcasts around that. So you could be building a social enterprise. You could be building a clothing enterprise. You could be making saris. But if your passion is running, go out to podcasts that talk about fitness. Don't just go out to podcasts that talk about businesses. Don't just go out to podcasts that talk about clothing or what your business. Go out and talk to podcasts that talk about fitness because it's a passion for you, which is why your building blocks are very, very important. Otherwise, you'll keep talking about your business, and that will be a very narrow way to create a personal brand. A personal brand is about you. Business is by extension. So if your passion is fitness, go to podcasts, talk about fitness. Automatically, people will know you, and automatically, by extension, people will know your business or your brand as well, right? So it is not always about your business. It is about you, your personal brand, and how you build it is by identifying your building blocks and then going out and talking to everybody who's about your building blocks. Did that make sense? Do I have any questions? One second. Till you think of questions once. Yes, yes. I see some questions.
Ma'am, I have one question.
Yeah.
Ma'am, as you told me that to build a brand, you should definitely have a good story like Vinita Singh has. So we also have one brand, or I Organics, and the owner is Nidhi Govind, and she also has a wonderful job in Accenture, and she left it, and she also has means the whole thing is that she has a very good story. Even then, our brand is not working too much now. And second thing, ma'am, as a brand, skincare brand, it is a skincare brand, so it is necessary to have a
Have a
Bollywood celebrity. Like every skincare product have Bollywood celebrity. Like if you go with like anything, like we always see advertisement like
got it. So in this case, we're actually discussing personal brand. We're not really discussing brand of a business or brand of your product, for example. But you're right. Look at Juicy Chemistry. I would say look at a lot of these smaller homegrown brands also that are doing very well because they talk about what makes their brand different, right? I don't know if even Minimalist, when they launched in India, it is a very big brand today, actually had a Bollywood celebrity. You don't need a Bollywood celebrity. You just need very smart marketing. You have to figure out personal branding actually comes from branding only, right? Marketing and branding, where which is what we used to do. And we used to say that you have to define your product's USP. आपके product में खास क्या है? जैसे आपके केस में कुछ खास है, आप कुछ अलग हो, आपकी जो founder है वो भी कुछ अलग है, right? Everybody is different, right? Everybody is different, which is what a personal brand is all about. Similarly, your product also, आपके product में different क्या है? My friend in New York has started a skincare brand very recently, and her thing is that she was born, brought up in India, and she now lives in New York. So she's saying that she very nice tagline she has. I'm forgetting the same word, but the ancient knowledge of India combined with the tech of New York, right? She says that so she has products that are made out of ghee, made out of rose petals and all of that, but she's using cutting edge technology in New York. Her guy is using, the formulator is using cutting edge technology in New York to make them very different. The formulation is very, very different, right? So that is what she says, कि मेरे products India से हैं, लेकिन मैं New York की cutting edge technology use कर रही हूँ. And that is what separates her brand from everything else in the market. You will have to find something that separates your brand. You don't need a celebrity because then you're tied up to this. The celebrity will get you eyeballs and all of that. But why not your brand only become the celebrity? So one thing is आपके product में अलग क्या है? आपके business में अलग.
Ma'am, we do have taglines.
I'm not asking you right now. I'm saying you build on that. आपका जो भी tagline है, आप उसका एक story बनाओ. What you do with it on Instagram, what you do with it elsewhere, वो बनाओ. Then, of course, Nidhi, your founder, will also have to go out and talk about, why she created this brand and what does this brand do, उसमें special क्या है, वगैरह वगैरह, right? Then, as a product, you will also have to work on, I don't know, but you'll have to work on some really interesting visuals, because what is beauty? Beauty is when you make a woman feel good about using your products. It's as simple as that, right? I should feel good that, about myself when I use your product. So do I feel that way when I look at your Instagram? Do I feel that way when I look at your visuals? Are they making me feel, wow, I really want to, I will feel so nice if I put this, are they making me feel that way, So what is it that you're doing with your product? So one is your USP. How much are you building on that USP? What is the USP? Is it really a good USP, right? Is it really something new? How are you talking about that USP to people? How much content are you putting out? आप नया और अलग क्या कर रहे हो? आपने sampling करी है कि नहीं करी है? Sampling is तो the most important thing. Estee Lauder, अगर आपने सुना है, one of the biggest beauty brands today, a very very big conglomerate, वो अपने kitchen में products बनाती थी. That's how she started. Her trick was sampling, and her trick was very clear कि वो kitchen में बनाती थी, लेकिन वो बेचना चाहती थी बहुत ही premium. But Estee Lauder was always a very premium product. So she used to dress up in a certain way, and she used to go to Saks and all and stand there and talk to all these very rich women and give them out samples and give them like a little treatment and all. But her whole persona was very premium. She may not have been when she started out, but she used to ensure, she used to dress in a certain way and carry herself in a certain way, because she said कि मैं जब तक premium नहीं लगूंगी, मेरा product भी premium नहीं लगेगा. So she decided कि मुझे Estee Lauder महंगा बेचना है, बहुत premium बेचना है, but I should look like someone who can sell a premium product, right? So बहुत सारा आपको marketing देखना पड़ेगा, बहुत कुछ देखना पड़ेगा, and then you will have to decide कि what the gaps are and how you should build a brand over there. And this is a case study. So you will have to actually go back and look at all of this.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bhavya, you have a question.
Hi, Dipika. Actually,
Okay,
yeah.
Before Bhavya asks her question, if you have liked this session, please go out on whatever social media you have and tag me and tag Aspire for her, saying that you have learned a lot. It will really, really help us, right? And please follow me on social media. Yes, Bhavya, now ask me your question.
I have done that. I have sent you a LinkedIn request for the same. So Deepika, my question is, I'm a person who collaborates a lot in my business also with the small women entrepreneurs. The people who are just starting or something. And then the second part is mine is a bootstrapped enterprise which I have been running for 5 years. And another part is that I am a person who likes to give people as a value. I like to give people in their business or make, if I'm going to an exhibition, I connect the other people rather than more of my, this thing, So wherever I go, I try to connect them. So this is what my value system is. And I'm just looking how to put it across as thing.
So, you will have to obviously going forward, figure out a way, but networking, what you are doing, connecting people is actually a great way, because you are building your own network as well. Soon you will become the go-to person. Do you know so-and-so? Do you know so-and-so? What I want you to really, what is your business? What did you say your business was?
Mine is a social enterprise. I promote artisans and the folk artists to the corporate gifting segment.
Artisan, what a lovely thing. Now, I want you to ask yourself, can you create like a networking group, because you are good at this, So can you create like a networking group of women or of people who are in this industry, or, something like that, something around networking can you do, because you clearly enjoy doing that. I'll give you an example. I'm forgetting her name. Shan. Her name is Shan. Shan enjoys doing that, So Shan's mother was into flea market. She used to do a lot of exhibitions in Bombay. And Shan also joined her mother, and she used to do all these pop-ups exhibitions. They had a couple of great brands. But Shan likes to connect people, right? Shan really likes to connect people. So as a side hustle, she started a networking group. It's called Networking Now. It's there in Bombay. I don't know if she started a Delhi chapter, but Bombay mein hai. And Shan first started with a WhatsApp group, and then she would do these small, networking mixers where people would come and just get to know each other. Shan ko usme koi wo nahi hai. Just come, you get to know each other, and किसी को कोई business किसी और से मिलता है, कुछ होता है, लेकिन focused होता था बहुत. कैसे 15 लोग आएंगे, अपना अपना business introduce करेंगे, a bit like BNI, a bit like one of these business, but more fun, right? And because people started seeing a lot of value, today Networking Now has grown. It is a paid group. And, people pay to be a part of that group, because unko itne logon ka connect milta hai. The whole purpose is people join that group only because people get connected to other people and people are getting so much business. So there's an interior decorator who joined, and Bombay mein she's got so much business, so much referrals from that. She says all her business comes from that group only, right? But Shan's passion of connecting people led her to start networking now. You should go on, it's a paid group, but you should just Google networking now, and you should today Shan is known as a networking girl, networking now usne shuru kiya. So Bombay mein she's very well known. So I'm just saying, Bhavya, it's not something that you will find an answer to right now, but you will be able to, if you really sit down and think about this, what is it that you can do, right? Can you do like lives on Instagram, where you say that I connected so and so person to so and so person, and let's have a chat around that one value, around that one passion that you have. Can you do something that will help you? Can you just share simply networking tips, why you like connecting people, right? So once you look at all of this now, at what is it that you like doing, what your skill is, what your business is, you will yourself find ways of amplifying your brand. So what you told me, that you love connecting people and you love, like, even when you go to a exhibition, it's not about you, it's about other people and connecting. It's a great value to have. And I'm sure there's something that you can do with this going forward, but it's also a great pillar for a personal brand.
Yes, Deepika, actually, that is right. One thing that you have told, that I can put pro networking tips or something, because I've been doing it for my students as well at the college. As a corporate relation manager, I show them what is the value of, this thing. I'm also working. I recently joined an organization to work as a networker and a corporate relation manager. So,
See,
I mean, I have been sharing those tips with my students.
yes. Now you can put these out on LinkedIn. You can put these tips out on LinkedIn, and it will, because this is and your personal brand has to come from something that you've been doing and you're good at. It has to come from a skill. It has to come from a passion, because only then will you be consistent, and only then will you be build on it. And only then will it be a and it'll grow. It will evolve and grow. It'll be long lasting only if it is based on authentic pillars of your passion, purpose, etc. तो आप करो जितना
Yes,
content
Deepika.
create करना है. लेकिन now that you know that your passion is networking, you will be able to now create authentically. You will be able to create content, right? Out of it.
Sure. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome. Anybody has any questions? There are questions in the chat.
Hi, I think Bhavya's question has been answered. To all of you who have joined today, a very big thank you. Sushmita, Neha, Sukanya, Priyanka, Priyadarshini, Jyotsna, Suvarna, Vaishali, Ankita, Misbah, thank you very much for coming to the EntrepreNaari Huddle. बस एक ही चीज कहना था आप लोगों को. We were talking about networking all this while. This community itself is an opportunity to network. You guys, I think, are all on the Telegram group. अगर आप नहीं हैं, तो please put yourself on the Telegram group. Talk about your business on the group, because that is a way for you to find your buyers, your customers, and people who you want to know maybe in the future. So I think use the Telegram group the best possible way. Also, let us know how the EntrepreNaari community, the work that we do as a part of the community, we can help you. That is one thing. The other thing, the second most important thing I want to let you know is that on EntrepreNaari, we do one-on-one mentoring as well. So in case anyone needs to work on any specific aspect, for example, needs a finance partner, needs a GST partner, needs a social media marketing person, needs a coach, needs a planner, for that matter, even wants to recruit. There are other communities as well, so you can recruit from there. So there are various resources available from the EntrepreNaari community itself. Please use them. Because if you use them, only then there's a possibility we can help you grow your business. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dipika. You truly are a star.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure doing this. Bye bye, everyone. Thank you so much.